Hello and welcome to another video from the SDC Digital Learning channel. Today I'm going to go through a little bit of ID mapping in Blender and porting that over to Substance Painter. So ID mapping is where you assign different vertex colors to a model. Those colors then jurisdict where textures are placed on your model, so you get a compressed texture image for your model. So what I mean by that is you will have, instead of having three different textures for different parts of your model, you'll have one fully finalized, optimized texture that will cover the entirety of your model with different textures and materials all over it. So what I'd do is you'd bring in just a shape. So I'll go for a cube. Let's give it a bit of variation like that, and maybe bevel at the top like that. So we've got a funky shape. The shape doesn't matter, it's purely just for demonstration purposes. So if I were to select down here and say that I want the bottom of this model here to be concrete, all I need to do is go up here to where it says edit mode, change it to Vertex Paint, tick this box here so I can see which areas I have selected, right click, choose yourself any color, turquoise, and then do Shift K, and that will fill in that part there. So all we need to do is go back to edit mode, select this bit here, press tab again, go into Vertex Paint, right click, go to red. As long as it's not the same exact RGB scale color, you can have duplicates. So I could have two versions of red, just has to be different on the scale completely. So now if I go to this one here, grab that, and put that as green. So you can see, got the different colors. Now it doesn't look like much here, it looks like a real weird looking tree. But it'll make sense once I bring it into Substance Painter. That's where this will really make sense. So now I'm in Substance Painter. I've brought in my asset to start texturing. What I need to do initially is bake out my mesh maps. This will identify where these colors are. So over here on the left hand side you can see ID map. Keep that one ticked. I by habit untick ambient occlusion because I think it makes your mesh look a bit dirty and it's a bit weird. So click on your ID map tab, change material color to vertex color. We want you to detect the vertex colors that we've placed on here. You could do it with materials, but then it makes it a lot more messy and there's more things to handle, so don't worry about that. So change the vertex color, bake selected textures, let that do its job. And now if I go down here and bring in just a random texture, so if I want to bring wood down here, you see it still applies it over the entirety of the model. We don't want that. So the way you get around that, the hotkey that you'd use is Control. So you grab your texture, hold Control, hover over, and you'll see now you have your three different colors. So at the top here I'll make that a nice wood. Bottom I'll make it metallic. In the middle I'll make it glossy plastic. And you can see now on my texture set list up here, it's still one material, but it's all displaying three different. So all you do now is go to File, go to Export Textures. I'll change this to Unreal PNG, which is the most lossless version file format for that, so use that one. Base and text set size, I'm going to change it to 4K, and then I'm going to choose where I'm going to save it. So I'm going to go to desktop, new folder, do test_ID, pop it in there, and then export. Lovely. So close that one down. If I go back into Blender now, you see I've got my asset that we made, the same one. If I go into shading, create a new material, if I go into my files now and find test ID, drag that into the Blender there, you can see now I've got my three different materials on there, my normal map as well. And there, that to there. Got my three different materials all on one map. If I open up the image, you'll see that it's spread out on the UV map. Now the stretching, don't worry about that because that's what happens with Substance, is how it exports it out. But you'll see each area that I've assigned has its own part of the texture. And this means that when you bring it to Unreal Engine, your file size will be a lot smaller. You're not having three different materials, one for wood, one for glossy plastic, one for metallic. You have it all together in one compressed file, which means you can have a lot more 4K maps and textures on your assets in your games without losing any space and having a ridiculously large game file size. So that's all you really need to know about ID mapping. It's pretty straightforward. There are a few things, issues that can come up. You can get things called ID map leaking, which is where your sort of ID colors are just streaking into other parts of it, and it's kind of leaking in a way. And that's more of a comment on your modeling and your topology, so you need to go and fix that before you go and do the ID mapping. But that's only the real main issue you get. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that was helpful, and I hope to hear you guys and see you guys in the next one.